Hey everyone, Thermal64 here, and today we're here on Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, the original version. If you recall, we did actually just finish all the story modes and missions on the Regravitified mod, but now it's time to showcase exactly what we have going on here in the original version. Now, I do believe, yeah, I still have bought everything. Now, first, I want to cover just the main reason why I played on the Regravitified mod as opposed to this for the stories and everything. But the other thing, I actually was trying to show off the survival modes of this on the Regravitified mod, but the thing is that they actually removed the CPU for all three of these too. So survival battle is an instant win. Survival ball is just you scoring the shot with the ball spawning on the exact same location. And relay is pretty much just racing with that one extra thing, which I will showcase. All three of these we will be showcasing in the original version of Zero Gravity because they actually work in that version. But yes, here we are on the original version of the game. God, I don't even have the other character unlocked. God dang. I'm not really missing out on the robots or anything. So essentially everything I was gonna cover for both versions, I'm pretty much only gonna have to do on the original Zero Gravity, and I don't recall having to wait that long for the loading screens. Maybe I'm just spoiled by today's freaking graphical capabilities. I don't know. Oh my god. So right out the gate, we already have this insane motion blur that's going on with this game. When I first played this, I had no idea it was this intense. Like, I always thought it was just, you know, like something they did only when you get to this section right here. But no, it's actually insanely freaking crazy. Insanely crazy? Yeah, let's go with that. But yeah. One thing I will say that I kind of missed from the original version is that whenever you use a gravity action, part of the music actually changes with it. It's honestly a really nice touch. But yes, if you guys remember what I said earlier about the trick system, it's actually a combination of how fast you're going, followed by when you're actually jumping off on the ramp. Unfortunately, the speed actually does matter when you're going off of the ramps. That's why whenever we went to those tricks, we always saw those little speed boosters right before actually getting on the ramp. Oh, what? I didn't make that? Another thing. Oh my god. I forgot the one major thing is that, in the original version, the Nintendo Wii remote was heavily favored in terms of the controls. And because we're playing on this in the original version, there's no boosting of any sort. So third is pretty much just gonna pass me. But yes, back to what I was saying. Because on the original version, the Nintendo Wii was heavily favoring the Wii remote, vertically and horizontally. And when you try to play this with the freaking GameCube controller, moving when you're trying to do the gravity control is actually difficult. In fact, I think, yeah, even on the gravity dive, oh my god. You can't drift either, so you have to, like I said before, you have to use the gravity control. I don't remember it being so stiff though.
Sweet.
But the most important thing about this whole ordeal with playing this on the original version, other than it being stiff, is actually how comparatively slower it is. Like, acceleration is one thing, but the speed, oh my goodness. Like, look at the times I got here. The sad thing is, outside of the Big Bang, what is it? The wheel type is actually the least favored gear type in the entire game. And I mean the entire game.
Do you think you can beat me? Out of my way.
When you attack the stuff over here, it doesn't count towards your freaking gravity points. Oh, right. I was already charging. Oh my god. That was on me, but good lord. Like, these things are particularly the slowest in the entire game. The only reason I choose the Big Bang over this, especially for the fact that it has no gear changes, is because when you hit the gravity meter up to the 100, you actually get the free ability to run up to the speed of 250 via the attack mode, which is great because you can actually get a lot of points off of this via taking these bike routes. The problem is, though, is that you're so goddamn slow, you're not going to be able to string up as many links as you would in the Regravitified. It does make getting higher level tricks a lot easier, though. But good lord, this is the main thing. Like, the CPU are able to easily catch up to me, not because of how necessarily good they are, but because of how nerfed you are when you're trying to play with these. Okay, let me go on this other route real quick, because I have to show you the other saving grace for all wheel types. This is the only thing about this. Oh, frick. So, you know how when you try to use the gravity control, the wheel goes nowhere with this. I mean, absolutely no. Like, in fact, let me show you a better comparison. Look at that. I barely made that. Absolutely nowhere. But the other thing is, the other saving grace, if you hold the jump button all the way until you land, we're gonna get to that point. The saving grace right here, right here. If you hold it all the way and start making a turn, that's when you get your drift. And this is the drifting that it's based on in Regravitified. It's just so insane to me that that's it. Like, that you see right there in real time, that this is the main reason. First off, for the main game, you see why I chose on Regravitified. It's just, actually, you know what? Since we're talking about the motion blur for a second, I have to see this. It's like, oh my god, like, look at this. It'll probably look a lot better on the actual, like, finished video compared to the game, but, like, good freaking lord. If you've played this, and keep in mind, this is the Wii version, this is the better of the two versions I'm playing right now. If I play this on the PS2, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to face some lawsuits of actual damage. Okay, it's not that bad, but the blur is actually insanely horrifying on PS2. Okay, so this actually looks cool with the blur, but it's not a very good selling point.
Ready? Go! Sweet.
Oh my sweet baby, but Jesus. Anyway, one thing I will have to show you guys via this like this specific mode, is Supersonic. I believe I have the Chaos Symbols now. Yes, here we go. So, Supersonic is actually very much nerfed compared to its first iteration in the Sonic Rider series. And you're gonna get a good look at why here.
Behold the power of the Chaos Emeralds.
So right out the gates, you don't even get to start off with rings. You already have to start with 0 rings right out the gate. Second, you have none of the abilities. When I say none of the abilities, oh my god. When I say none of the abilities, I mean like you can't grind, you can't hit any of the air flying, and you also can't hit any of these obstacles. You can't hit any of the cars here. Supersonic can't hit cars. Oh, and those gravity actions, the gravity control and gravity dive, if you even think about using any of those, look at this. My ring count depletes. Not just decreases, it depletes the entire time. The only saving grace of this particular gear here is the magnetic barrier. And also when you hit past 60 rings, you get into this Supersonic form right here. It's technically an attack mode, but you can't actually hit anyone. The one good thing about this mode here is that while you can't really hit anyone with this, you can actually go to the bike routes now. But unfortunately this particular course isn't favorable for doing so, because here you actually have to use the gravity actions, which we've already clarified. Trying to do that is ill-advised. But yes, and look at this. Even when going through this mode, oh my god. And look how the CPU, by the way, are still catching up to Supersonic. Supersonic, by the way, with next to no concerns or worries whatsoever. You would think that going in this mode here, it would at least allow you to go in some high speed, but no. I'm only hitting like 180 with this. The only saving grace being that I don't get hit by cars. It's actually insane how much I'm struggling to keep up with Eggman and Supersonic. Just saying that out loud feels so wrong. Oh my god, Supersonic absolutely sucked in this game. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat this one. Supersonic absolutely sucked playing on this version. Even back in the day, it was so bad. You can't hit anyone with the boost. And keep in mind, that Supersonic boost form that you saw when you hit 60 rings, that's forced. You cannot exit out of that mode unless you run out of all the rings. Oh, jeez. I'm honestly curious about the Regravitified version of Supersonic. You know what? Let me boot that up real quick. Since we're already on the extra video, it'll be just a sec.
Behold the power of the Chaos Emeralds.
Okay, so right out the gate, they actually give you rings, and they don't deplete like it takes forever. I can actually use the shortcuts, and my goodness, I forgot about. I already missed a control. I can use the shortcuts. Oh my god. Oh wait, frick. You can just hit things again. Oh my god. This is already better, but I want to see how much farther it gets in being better. And keep in mind, I haven't even went in that form yet. Dive speed up, gravity control boost up. Alright, so let me see how those actually work. But yes, I'm already faster than I was in the original version of this. And let me see how quickly the rings go down in this version. Oh my god, this is like nothing now. And the speed itself is actually pretty neat. No, this is actually insane how much better this version is. For it being the endgame reward for getting everything at gold. And you know, that's the thing that makes it so bad in the original version. You don't get that Supersonic from buying it in the shop. You have to get it from getting every single mission on both stories in gold. The boost version is actually pretty cool too now. Because it does eat up a set amount of rings. It works just like how it does in the original version. But you do get that increase of speed. And they actually make the gravity actions more rewarding for this. I think that's so far the best thing about this. Using the gravity does not eat up your rings. In fact, Supersonic as a whole does not eat up your rings like it did in the original.
As it should be.
Actual in-game reward that... Oh, not in-game. End-game reward that's actually worth it. That's how you're supposed to do it. Alright, now back to the original version. Okay, so now that we're back, we're going to be covering the survival modes. Then after this, we're going to be covering the little extras and even doing a small showcase of the options. And then we'll pretty much be done with the extra video. I was kind of thinking that maybe I will skip just doing all three of these, because I feel like the only one that actually is worth it is this one right here. But I was wrong. I'm going to cover all three of these, but I'm going to make it... Oh, you can only make it 3 minutes. And the point limit's already at its lowest of 100. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick some different characters now. Because I've played just about everyone in the game, I'm not missing the robots, by the way. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't think anyone's going to be missing me playing the fly version of the robots in a survival game. Actually, I was gonna pick Shadow. Here we go. So the timing for this is pretty much the exact same. Now, believe it or not, the fact that you're going slower here actually kind of works for this game's favor. Now, what are you doing in this? So, in the survival ball, you're actually trying to score all these balls into the goal with gravity action. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned, because there is an actual issue with the control balancing in this game, people who are playing this game with the Wii remotes are going to have a much better advantage over this versus those who are only playing this on a GameCube controller, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people who even touch this game are more than likely going to be playing it on. Oh yeah, don't forget that even with gravity control, you can actually jump and shoot with the gravity control. You don't have to just do it straight from the ground. Unfortunately, I'm playing this on the game controller scheme, on a control scheme, so being able to turn is actually the worst thing you can possibly imagine doing. I'm gonna see if I can end this quickly with some 50s though. Aw, come on. Will it reach? No, it will not. And crazily enough, this really does not eat up your gravity like that. But yes, playing through the survival ball is, and not just survival ball, but survival battle as well. It's not the greatest just because I'm playing this on the game controller. If you play this with the Wii Remote horizontal or vertical, you do get that extra control lineage. And I'm telling you, playing it with that is the best way and pretty much the only good way you can play the original version of this game. I hate that it's like this, but that's pretty much how it is. Now, in terms of what you can do in the survival ball, other than, of course, just shooting, you can use gravity dive to catch up to a certain ball. You can actually intercept someone's attempt at shooting if you're close enough. God, I really wish there was a way you could just turn so much easier on this. But no, once again, you pretty much have to use the Wii Remote in order to get the best way to play the game. I'd say out of those two particular control schemes, the horizontal version is probably the best way you're going to get the most lineage in terms of turning. Whereas with vertical, you get the most out of for doing the gravity control. So it's like, if I had to put the actual shooting and everything, like these control schemes in a specific tier list or whatever people do nowadays, I'd say for battle modes, vertical works best, horizontal, and then the GameCube controller. Oh yeah, another thing. I'm pretty sure I have mentioned this before with Regravitified playthrough, but when it comes to shooting or gravity control in general, the longer you hold it, the farther and faster you get to shoot a ball. What? How'd that not make it in? Oh my god, we're playing this kind of shenanigans now. Okay, there's about 30 seconds left anyway. I think I can just chill out right now. So, as I was saying, when it comes to using gravity control, two major things you want to focus on with the survival ball is not just aiming, but also how long you're holding it. The other reason you want to focus on holding it is because, remember, anyone else using the gravity control can intercept your shots. Like, if it travels a far enough distance, you could just pick it up from a very, very far distance and just win games like that. The range of the gravity control, I'll admit, is actually pretty nice. So, this particular map, I think the ball becomes the bomb. Yeah, it becomes the bomb. Oh, come on. Oh, frick. Thankfully, falling doesn't cost any points. I can't make it to the 50. Jesus Christ, this is so bad. Wait, too far away. Come on. There we go. My goodness. I sadly cannot just describe how insanely awful it feels trying to control this thing. Oh yeah, and you can't try to use gravity dive out of a gravity control. Oh, I actually made that. Nice. That was gonna make it in. He shoots a swing and a miss. It'd be funny if it actually somehow made it all the way to that 10-1 though. Yeah, because considering you instantly spawn back after falling, the consequences of falling is pretty much next to nothing. At least with the actual battle modes anyway. I think this is it. Yeah. Okay, now that we covered all that, let's go over to the freaking actual battle mode. So the battle mode is more or less the same way we just did with this, but with missiles. I will be using Eggman for this, of course. Of course, in the interest of making sure no one gets an advantage, no one can move during this. Pick up as many missiles as you can. And focus. Every time you do fall, of course, I believe it actually does take a heart from you. You do get missiles as well as gravity. Of course, gravity being the most important thing you get. A shield, missiles, and more heart pieces. Or just more hearts. Of course, you only get more hearts when you have only one more hit you can take. Now, the missiles do try to predict where you're going, but the thing is, like I mentioned before, because you're not really going that fast, you can actually stop, and you'll more than likely not even get hit by the missiles. This really does feel like one of those like throwaway battle modes. They just kind of said, you know what, we gotta have something in here. Oh shoot, I'm actually almost dead. Yeah, and unlike the survival ball or the survival battle of the other, the survival battle of the original game, there really aren't that many. What was I about to say? There aren't that many variations of playing like different maps that actually feel like you're playing different maps. Like you're playing different designs, like a big cube versus a large cube in the middle where you're just traveling through different lanes and everything. Like this is a labyrinth. The other one we did was just a basic square. But the thing is, you can lift these, and they don't do damage, but you can lift these. The labyrinth factor doesn't really come into play in this version, especially since they, even though they do respawn, once again, you can just lift them. I think you can actually use those to actually hit the other characters, but... Oh yeah, and gravity dive. You can actually just use this to flat out avoid the missiles altogether. If you see someone in mid-air just ready to toss something at you, just gravity dive. The missile will not attempt to catch up. That's the main issue with that. It's really only good if you don't have a shield, don't have enough gravity to keep yourself in the air. Okay, so hitting those actually do take away your shield, but shields are super easy to get back. Alright, he's aiming. No hit, okay. I'm gonna be honest, I really do not feel for this particular battle mode versus the one in the original game. Yeah, and when you don't have your shield, it pretty much just serves as its own thing. Oh. That's the only, I'll admit that is actually a pretty good thing that you could use the labyrinth for, but again, you can just lift them with the gravity control. Did they get destroyed by, oh my god. They got destroyed from hitting themselves. What is this? Okay, I was about to say, at least one of them, please. So I take that back. This may actually be a worse variation of the gravity pit. And then Square Quartet is just a large section of 4 squares with a huge circle, or not huge circle, with a huge hole in the middle. So you have to travel just to be able to even hit opponents. Just to even hit them. Although I will say, this is actually pretty decent use for, like, gravity dive to pick up your speed. Oh my god, I forgot about Billy Hatcher doesn't even have, like, his actual voice in this. It's all just sound effects straight from the game. Oh, you know what? This one might actually be a winner here, because, like, in this one, you actually don't have much room to be able to do gravity control. Although you can use it to just travel to the complete opposite side. Oh, nice. I got a heart. Okay. Like, once you have someone aiming, there's really no point in holding it longer. Even if you have multiple missiles, holding it longer does not make it so you can shoot multiple at once. It's just, you have someone on target, you have them on their sights, just let it go. It doesn't help for accuracy at all. Oh, and if you run out of gravity points, you can't even launch them, which makes sense. Okay, Amy is down for the count. Wait, I actually got him? What the heck? Oh my goodness, and it's like, again, I would love to be able to properly demonstrate how this actually works moving around, but there's so little, you have so little control with the GameCube controller that you actually just can't move around it, and Blaze just freaking disappear from existence. Okay, so now we are at the last mode of this. This one's going to be a little tricky because I have not set up any kind of controller with this to properly work. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this sucker. Actually, no, I see how this can turn out badly really quickly. Just a moment. Alright, sorry about that. So, unfortunately, I was not able to get anyone to really play the original version's Survival Relay. So I am going to have to kind of find a way to get around this here with just two people being myself. So, How this works is that on this, we're going to do just 2 laps. 2 people, a minimum 2 people, will be playable on this. Obviously, both robots cannot be played for this. And the gear, extreme gear that we use are the batons. Oops, I forgot the other one's set to freaking B for some reason. Actually, I gotta change that too, but I'll save that for when we actually get into the game. Of course, the first player has to make the choice. I'm not sure how the freaking skates work, so I'm gonna use that actually. It looks kind of funny seeing how this works. So, just like you would in a real relay race, once the laps go to a segue here, just like what we're gonna do right now. Check this out, check this out.
All right, bring it on.
Oh my god, they gave both of them skates? That's lame. So, the trick here is that once you get to a point where you have to go and finish a lap, you have to give the gear to the other person while they're running towards the lap to start their lap. If you don't get there in time while they touch the lap, they get shocked. Okay, so we're actually about to hit the point right now. I'm not familiar with the timing, so you will have to forgive me if I don't get this right. And of course, you have to time when they actually speed to it. It's just the same thing, but you're basically getting to the gear at the same time. Otherwise, though, it's pretty much just the same thing. It's just you're giving the gear to someone else at that time. I think this could be a pretty cool mode to do this with 2 people, but to be honest, I feel like once you get to a certain point with this game, like both the original and Regravitified, you're more than likely just going to want to play the original race with the other person at the same time, rather than this. Like, it's a neat idea. I just think I would just much rather play the actual mode. And that's it. Okay. Not a good showcasing of it, but I hope you guys at least have the right idea on how the relay race works. Oh my god, you know what? No, I can't end it here. I gotta show you guys what the actual Gigan Rocks looks like. I'd be danged if I just end the video like that. Well, not end the video, but end this section just like that. What's cool is that you actually can select both characters like default here. Now, one gear that I actually think is pretty cool, both in the original and this version, is the rainbow. Well, it's called the Omnipotence in the original, but this game is called the rainbow. Actually, no, I think the Omnitempest is actually a different gear. Point is, this gear has the ability to go through all shortcuts. However, in this game, they do it in a way of you going through the... What is it? In a way of you going through the gear changes. So, like, if you want to hit, like, grinding, for example... You can do that. Hit up a gear change. If you want to fly on the fly, you can do that. If you get the bike, you can do that. I don't know how the heck the bike turns back into the other forms, but hey. Oh yeah, and that cool thing I mentioned about the music changing based on the gravity actions does not apply here. I will say this It is kind of lame though how like freaking... how slow the freaking gravity dive is too. But let's get it. Other controller. Disconnected? Apparently my other controller disconnected. Okay. Not the best way I wanted to showcase that, but you guys hopefully you guys got the right idea on what exactly I was trying to show off here. There was of course a tutorial which I never got to show off, but to be honest, it's the fact that they call that a drift is so disgusting. The hands-on course, which gives you the ability to grind, bike, wheel, air ride, and slash yachts, which I have not shown off. I think whenever I do multiplayer on the Regravitified version, I'll show off all the other gear types. Actually, you know what? Screw that. Like, I'll do multiplayer on this at some point, but let me at least give you the proper explanation of this. In the extras mode, yeah, believe it or not, the game itself actually has an extras menu. Of course, all the cutscenes we've watched in the original, during the story, all the music in the game, as well as the main themes, and the gear gallery. This is the one I know y'all want to see too. So, before we get to that, I'll say that as the last bit. Just a quick glance over of the options. Audio settings, of course, mono stereo surround, rumble settings to turn on and off. Language, you can have the option to change your voice and the text options, in case you want to learn something off of this. Holding the Wii Remote forwards and holding it sideways. Do note, if multiple people are playing this game with the Wii Remote, they all have to play the game with holding sideways or holding forwards. Even if you haven't selected the GameCube controller, they all have to play with either one of these two. They don't get the option, unfortunately, to really switch on the fly like that. Which makes sense, you don't really have to way to choose the difference between the two. So, you know. Now, the gear gallery. I'm going to make a quick read over all this. I'm not going to read it myself, but basically, it's essentially the same exact format as the first games, where you cover through all the main extreme gear, and then all the extra stuff. I think I glassed over almost too quickly. But all the extra gear you've unlocked in the game. But honestly, it's just kind of insane how different this game feels now after playing Regravitified for so long. Well, playing the original, even the original game for so long before Regravitified, it's actually kind of eye-opening what they did with the game. There's really no way you can keep that top speed in the original game. There really isn't. And of course, Eggman's the only character in the game who can only use bikes. So you guys know how about skates work. All skates in the game automatically go for gear for grinding. All skates. It doesn't matter which type of skates they favor, they all go for grinding. Air ride, they all go for the ability to use those little air dashes, we'll call it, those dash rings. And of course the bike's just blocking everything in your way. Now, the main thing is the yacht I haven't even talked about. The yacht actually has a slipstream mechanic. You know how whenever someone's too far away, like too far behind and everything, or maybe not too far, but like just a little bit far behind, a little bit far. I don't know if that makes any sense, but point is, a little bit behind, and they're actually right behind someone. The yacht has the ability to go through a slipstream mechanic where you can actually use that to catch up. Why they only have something like that for a specific gear type, I have no idea. It's the same thing as I felt with the wheel having the only ability to use drift at the cost of using any kind of velocity with the gravity control. Other than that though, everything else is pretty much just how it works in the original in terms of like what they offer is pretty much what they have. What you see is what you get kind of deal. Even the Legend has a trick rank system that's changing. Now these two right here are actually pretty cool. Ghost makes it so you don't get hit by any items in the game, which may not matter if you get super far anyway. And the auto wall run. If you hit any ramp in the game that's near a wall, you automatically just turn and vanish right into that wall. The rail linker. This one, admittedly, I was kind of interested in the concept of being able to just have this automatically ride, but all this does is that it just makes it so the gear automatically makes you jump onto the next rail, so you're guaranteed to land on that other rail. It's, again, pretty cool on its concept, but yeah, it really isn't. It's not like it's that difficult to really hit the rails, so I mean, it's cool, I guess. Okay, my favorite gear in the game. They actually have something like this called the Potential in the next game we'll be covering in the Sonic Rider series. But this one is actually really freaking good. In the original and Regravitified. Oh, the reserve tank. So, just like I think there was something like this in the original where you can only get air through reserves of some sort. But here, you know what? No, it's not this. It's not the first game. I'm thinking about the next game that does this kind of mechanic. GP tank. Again, outside of using an extended version of Gravity Dive, I don't know why they made the wheels the way they did. Bringer of Disruption. Oh my god. On top of feeling like I feel like Shadow should be able to also use this, it's just insane. Like, even if it was the case, it's just insane at how bad the Chaos Symbol is in the base game. In the original game, I mean. Like, and keep in mind, I've said this, I know I've said this like a million times already, but it's like, it wouldn't be so hard on it. I wouldn't be so hard on it if it was something you could just buy at the shop, as opposed to have to go through all the missions at the best tier in the game just to unlock this. Especially knowing that this exists, I'm definitely not going to be using the Chaos Symbol for anything else. The Crazy, it has pretty much the same attributes as the Supersonic, but not nearly as crazy bad, just crazy. This one's unique, and I'm really going to want to talk about this one in the next game, but this one, generally speaking, just gives you better items. That's it. If you have the Angel, you go a little bit faster, but you get better items. You can just win out races. If you get the Devil, I think you go a little bit slower, but I know for a fact that you do get worse items that end up harming you than it does anyone else. Throttle, it's just basically a slots type gear. This is the worst gear in the entire game. The worst one. This one literally eats up rings just like the other ones. No, actually no, it doesn't eat up rings. Its entire speed, its entire capabilities in the game is solely strung about how long you can keep collecting rings. Even past the cap. It's just, I'm gonna have to show that off. I'm gonna show that off and that'll be the last thing we do. Item rank gives you good items. You can actually get better luck with these. It's pretty nice. Big Bang, like I said, if you get the GP gauge filled, you get to the attack and just go at it with the speed. It can be really good if you're good at timing the tricks. Gambler, this is literally just a ring grinding machine. There ain't much else to talk about. Bingo Star, another ring grinding machine. Wanted another ring grinding machine. I don't think I have to explain the hang on to people. This is actually pretty unique. This one actually puts a lot of gear changes towards hitting your opponents with vision trap, parts lock, status traps, and I don't think you can actually turn those off once you get hit by those too. I can never figure this one out. I don't know what this one's all about, and I just feel like it's just bad just for the sake of saying, hey, we can make references on this one. Speaking of bad, this one right here, with the horrible acceleration, the untouchable, it's just gone awful. Like, getting to the speed of what the faster can do, but slightly better. Obviously, it's the fastest gear in the game, but the circumstances where you get to use this and become the fastest gear in the game is so far and few in between. There are like 2 courses in the entire game, 3 I think actually, that you get to actually be able to use the untouchable the way they want you to, but it's not worth it. I don't know why they even put that in the game. It's just not worth it. Alright, so this one is the one I mentioned earlier. You can just do unlimited gear changes, switch to any type of gear you want, so you can use grinding, air dashing, or the bikes. Wind catcher, every time you're in the slipstream or in the air, you can actually gain more GP from doing that. Alright, that covers just about everything now, but now, a showcasing of the worst gear in the entire game. The worst. I legitimately cannot think of anything worse than this. Oh wait, actually, hold on. I'm trying to think, like, I'm trying to show it off in the quote-unquote best way I possibly can, but in free race, I don't think I can actually make that possible.
Do you think you can beat me? You're no match for me.
Look at this speed, by the way. Look at it. Don't turn your eyes away. Look at it. I can't even make that. Jesus, this is so bad. You know what? I want to see, because like there actually is a 100 ring cap. I want to see what it looks like when you get all 100 rings.
You can beat me?
Just the fact that even I don't know that, how much it looks like on this, should give you a good idea of what I mean when I say this is the worst gear in the game. Look at this. With no rings, you start at 120. 120! And look, now that I hit 100, now that I hit a pace of like, what is it? A case of all 100 rings. The base speed now actually works on the very basic level that every other gear in the game can get. Every other non-wheel type, I mean. Don't worry about the CPU, by the way. They're always meant to be like a bit unfair with their speed. I'm not worried about them. Huh? Oh no, this game's some kind of... I don't know about that. But yes, the entire point of the acceleration is only good when you get to actually collect the rings. If you're not actually collecting them, it's pretty much a moot point at this point. Oh god, the fact that you need to use this, constantly collect rings outside of the items, apparently. Stop, stop. I can't even finish the race. Just stop. Oh my god. I think that does it. My throat's actually starting to hurt too, so I'm gonna just have to stop it right here. Overall, I do still think that this game has a good place in my heart when it comes to freaking being a good, good Sonic Riders games. It's just, having played the original game, the first one, the first Sonic Riders, and then having played the Regravitified, which is basically a faster version of this, there are some things that the decisions on the game are actually starting to impact how much I enjoyed the game, like back then. It still has its own identity. That's not going to change just because Regravitified exists. I think the level design and even the music are some of the craziest ones of the spin-off Sonic series. But that's really it. There isn't too much it stands out on in terms of this, and there's only 3 games in the Sonic Riders series anyways. I know most people don't want to acknowledge the next one, which is going to be one we'll be covering. Not the very next playthrough, mind you, but it'll be a game we will be covering hopefully soon, because there is something I do want to talk about with that particular game. But for now, with Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, we're finished. This has been Actorius before signing out, and honestly, even if you don't play the Regravitified version, or do play the Regravitified version, I would still say this game's great. Not as great as I remember it being, but still fun in its own right, and hopefully when we ever come back to it, whether I play the Regravitified or original version, I hope we all get to have that same laugh again with Zero Gravity. But until then, this is me signing out, and I'm going to skip on the outro for now, because again, my throat's actually starting to hurt, so be seeing you, and stay tuned. It's just Mario Super Sluggers will be the next game that we'll be playing through. But we will be talking about Sonic Free Riders.